Welcome to the R.E.D Network, where real estate dads juggle the high-stakes hustle of their careers with the heartwarming chaos of family life. Whether you're closing deals, changing diapers, or chasing dreams, we've got you covered. Join us for stories, strategies, and laughs as we navigate the perfect balance between hustle and home. The R.E.D Network, where real life meets real estate.
Welcome back to the R.E.D Network. On today's episode, I'm sitting down with Logan Rhea, a Nashville-based realtor, investor, content creator, and founder of the Pro20Five Group. Since 2020, Logan has helped more than 100 families relocate to Middle Tennessee, generating over $35 million in sales, all through intentional systems, consistent effort, and a clear sense of purpose. In 2024, he launched the Pro20Five Group with a mission to help agents build purposeful, profitable businesses so every client can move with purpose. His team operates on three core pillars: connection, consistency, and clarity. A former touring musician turned content first strategist, Logan is building a powerful online presence, including a 6 million view Instagram reel, and using YouTube and luxury home tours to grow his brand, coaching platform, and nationwide referral network. And beyond the business, Logan recently stepped into his favorite new title, Dad. He and his wife, Britt, are raising their newborn son, Theo, in Donaldson, and alongside with two Australian shepherds, Buddy and Moose. Let's dive into Logan's journey from music to real estate, from reels to referrals, and now from entrepreneur to father. Logan, welcome.
Thank you, man. Excited to be here. What
Awesome.
an intro.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to have you. And hey, what better time to have you on here than right before your first Father's Day?
Exactly. Yeah, that is true.
I think the last time we talked was right before Theo was born. He was due anytime.
Yep.
How's baby Theo doing? How's mom and dad doing? You seem well rested.
Thank you, man. Yes. We definitely are doing much better. He's almost 12 weeks now.
Yeah.
So yeah, those first couple weeks were pretty intense or interesting, I would say. And we can totally dive into all of that, but having the mother-in-law, having my mom help, and but it was definitely like quite a shock to the system. And we ended up within a week and a half, because my wife, she does digital marketing. We both are entrepreneurs. Ended up hiring part-time nanny just to have work, so we could have some of our work covered for at least 15 hours a week or so. So that was a huge help. But yeah, we've gotten into some good systems, some good routines so far with sleep and just both of us contributing and giving 100% where we can. But I keep hearing that as soon as we get one thing down, it's about to change. So we'll see.
I was going to say, man, you have no idea. You're jinxing yourself right now. You're actually the first new dad that I've had on the show, which I love because it's a whole different perspective, man. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and so it's a totally different stage. But my wife and I, we were actually looking back at old photos. It was my daughter's birthday a couple months ago, and so we were just looking through old photos of kind of making a birthday post. And her first year, she was our first. I'm looking through her first year photos, and every one that we're in, I'm like, we look so tired. Like every single picture, it doesn't matter what time of day, it doesn't matter what time of year. We just looked so tired all the time.
Man, can totally relate. I mean, yeah, that's funny. I do a lot of video and capturing those moments and the highlights, but you don't capture as much of the hardship moments necessarily. But there have been like a lot of times where we just, I need a break. I can't really handle this crying baby that don't really know as well. Feels like more like an alien. And it's just like, what? It doesn't need to change diaper.
Tell me what you need.
Milk feed. Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like, or like one of the funniest things, the first like 3 days, which the second day we brought him home. we were co-sleeping, had him in the middle, and he just woke, 2 a.m. He just wakes up and he's and then back asleep. We're like, what?
We're up.
Yeah, we're like, what just happened? We're probably thinking like, he's like, what the heck? Where am I? Like, I'm not in the womb.
Yeah, what is that?
And then went back to sleep. It was so funny. I was like, so, and there's been nothing more sanctifying than having a kid, but also, like, my mom calls it heavy blessings, but it's like a joy and an honor to serve my wife and to grow in patience. Our communication's been tested, but it's all good things and definitely refining, but also revealing. And that has been something where opportunity to grow as parents, as spouses, and really just be able to take a village to raise this kid, because we both are blessed enough to have our parents, and they were able to help. Britt's parents, they live in Oklahoma, but they fly in like, every other week, every other month at least. And they just love grandkids. And so they've been a huge help. And we built like an in-law suite in my garage. So that's been really cool too, to have them kind of stay down there and stay involved and be able to help. And, just really like making lots of memories, man. But it definitely has been a huge shock to the system. You can't just stay up as late as you want, do whatever you want, and just go with the flow like we were doing beforehand. A lot more intentionality.
You are no longer in control, my friend. I think whenever we talked before, I was telling you how it's so hard to describe until, and it's really impossible to do so until they're here. But now it sounds like you're feeling that. But man, it's fun. They're all challenging and they're all fun all at the same time as far as the stages go. So well, let's dive into the episode from musician to realtor. How did that career change? How did that get sparked?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was starting out doing music was always something I really loved. But if I would describe myself as like a tree, that was more of like a branch. Like, I can do it, I enjoy it, but it's not necessarily the core root or like the main part of the tree. So what was things like service, creativity, helping people, vision casting. I'm a believer, so like anything to do with ministry and kind of and like basically being an entrepreneur. And so as I graduated MTSU, let's see, 2015, jumped into the music industry, worked at a music booking agency first year. Was an agent there, not really, but I was a floating assistant to booking agents. And but that was really corporate, and like the wrong thing, the wrong time, with the wrong person kept happening. Plus, like, I'm not really designed to be an assistant. I'm more of frontline, outgoing, ENFP, 7 Enneagram. Just person with strength finder. Number one is woo, right? So it's like some of the details got lost. Ended up just diving into music and got kind of burned out of doing that. Playing bass with several bands, touring a little bit, and then doing house shows, promoting my own, bands and things like that through booking. And then ended up basically working at Topgolf just to take a break from and refigure out what I'm doing, and like quarter life crisis at 25, like what's my life? And didn't know about real estate at all. And I talked to my landlord, and I was like, hey, would you ever consider like renovating this part of the house? Like, there's a carport, you could maybe update, add a loft up there, and I would do this. And she's like, you should get into real estate. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't really know what that means. And and then like read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then saw like 3 different mentors of mine. They were all in real estate, but they were all at one point. One guy was a booking agency, another guy promoter, another and like a manager. Another guy played guitar he's a part of Love and Theft, and Brian Bandis, him, I'm pretty sure. And all 3 of those guys were super influential into opening my eyes, and then reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm like, whoa, what? Assets, liabilities, working for money versus getting your money to work for you, and the four cash flow quadrant, and listening to Bigger Pockets. And so the goal was like, oh, maybe I could be an investor by night, be a real estate agent by day, help people out. And then maybe those can switch later on. And that was in 2019. Ended up, I mean, I can keep going on some of the story, but I ended up getting licensed. You were actually a huge encouragement in that because I failed the test 5 times. It took about a year for me to get
Six times
licensed.
charm, man.
Yeah, and you're like, you'll be a good agent. You know how I know? I'm like, how? It's like, well, 5 times failure is 5 times greater success. And you spoke a lot of life into me. That was awesome. It's cool to connect and think back on that. And then get licensed. Boom, March 2020. Let's go. Ooh, actually, tornado just hit, and COVID, and the end of the world.
Yeah.
I joined Alex Helton at Keller Williams. I think he's at Compass now, but joined his team, and Brian Bandis was my mentor, and had a really good first start for the first year. I learned a lot. I didn't necessarily earn a lot, but that's why I encourage lots of agents. Like, you're handling, hundreds of thousands of dollars, multi-million-dollar assets for people. You probably should know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, lean in on someone who does.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I got really good with the systems, and then went on my own, and basically have been a solo agent ever since, and then launched my team, the Pro20Five Group, which, by the way, the name stands for Proverbs 20, verse 5.
I was going to ask, I said it a couple of times in the intro, and I almost tripped up on my words because I was like, I wonder where that came from. But the ADD was already thinking about something else as I was reading.
Yep. So it's based off of this Bible verse in Proverbs. It says, a man's purpose is like deep water, but a man of understanding will help draw it out. And kind of twofold meaning, how can we as agents and professionals help our clients move with purpose and draw out, the Donald Miller example of they're the hero, I'm the guide. I've been to the land before. I can show you how to get there. What are your goals? Let's, come up with something that's aligned with that, draw out your purpose, and come up with a plan that's a win-win, and that can get you there. Another reason about it, though, is also, I believe that we're not just on this world for no reason, but there's intentionality behind everything we do. And there's a legacy we're going to leave behind. And there's also eternity where we're going. And so our actions, our lives matter. And how can we move with purpose, thinking about that legacy? And ultimately, I think the most important purpose is knowing who you are, knowing whose you are, and knowing who God is. And so pointing people to that through my actions, through my words, through relationships, and making sure that we can move with purpose versus just being reactive. And a lot of that is really, you kind of said the 3 pillars that's formed the reason why I created this team in the first place. So I can go into that if you want as well.
It's like I sent you over my agenda. That's literally the next thing on my line is the philosophy behind Pro20Five, and those pillars: connection, consistency, clarity. Kind of dive deeper into that.
Totally, man. So as a real estate agent, it's very lonely. So I was the year was 2022.
Yeah.
And just got married, and the dream woman of better than my dreams. Ephesians 3:20 says, God will provide. He can do more than you can think or imagine. So he totally did that. But then I'm also just solo agent, running and gunning. And I had one of the best years ever. And, over 20 or 25 deals that year. And I was feeling more alone than ever. And I was also where am I going? What am I trying to build? Because at that point, a lot of my business was coming from Sphere and referrals, which was great. But it's there's only so much that can last necessarily. And then I wasn't really having consistency in some of my income producing activities, as well as just like, I felt like a reactive entrepreneur versus like a purposeful business owner. And
I didn't feel like you have a whole lot of control with that.
no.
Yeah.
And like, I'm tired of chasing the deal. I still am. That's why I'm still, changing my business model here. I'll go into later, but the 3 C's of those 3 pillars came about because of that season of running and gunning on my own. So I felt alone. So I was like, well, what's the opposite of being alone? Connection. I was like, I don't really know where I'm going, no direction. How can I get direction? Well, I need to get clarity, and I need accountability, because I'm kind of just like back and, up and down, riding the roller coaster. My holistic counselor I went to a while ago was like, the number one client I have are real estate agents, because they're so stressed out. And like, you probably hear this, man, all the time, like tons of people, anyone can get their license within 2 or 3 weeks, and they're smarter than I, and they pass the test right away. And it's like no one, then they're just thrown into it. And it's like, you have to run it like a business. That's why like 80-90% of agents quit after 2 years. What's the stat last year? Like 70% didn't even sell a house.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think it was 80.
Yeah. Wild. Yeah. So reality is, you got to be consistent, have clarity, and you need connection, because no one wants to do this alone. So I ended up hiring a friend of mine who was in a mastermind, and he was a consultant, ended up coaching me consistently. And then he ended up turning into the director of operations for my team, which was really cool.
Nice.
And then I was like, dude, like, let's launch this team. And, you can go far alone, but you can go much further together. And plus, like, I love like sharing what I'm learning. That's one of the best things about it. And so anyway, yeah, that's kind of the philosophy behind it. Those 3 C's are our pillars, and we try and implement that for our clients, but also for our team as well. So we meet up on Wednesdays, synergy days, where we're working. We have, on Mondays, like a quick encouragement and highlights hardships. And then Fridays, we do accountability and coaching.
I love that. Well, and I want to get into the dad stuff, and I think it's kind of a nice segue, because you talked about, feeling very alone. And actually that is very much where like this podcast came from. I was talking with one of my coaches. I've got multiple coaches, and was talking about how, real estate agents, that you can very easily put yourself on an island. And I'm the only one whose listing isn't selling. I'm the only one whose buyer is upset. I'm the only one who's not got the pipeline that we want. I'm the only one for whatever. And then you get into a mastermind or a room with at least 2 or more other agents, and you're like, oh, your listing didn't sell either, or your client is having this problem, or like, we're the same. Got it. And I think fatherhood can be very similar. I think as a man, you can kind of put yourself on an island, and I'm going to be the fixer of all problems, and I'm going to do everything. And connecting with other dads, and especially other dads that think similarly to you, and that are also maybe in the same industry, and may have the same problems, may have the same wins, things like that. That's kind of where this came from. So I love that.
Yeah.
How has fatherhood shifted your perspective on just like time and legacy? You're fresh into it. You're in the thick of newborn, dad. How has that shifted? Because that's still very fresh for you.
Yeah. So how has that shifted for what again?
Like just your perspective on just like time in general.
Okay. So yeah, like I kind of referenced in the beginning, you could just beforehand do whatever you want, whenever you want, essentially, as long as it's, following your business goals and things like that. But now it's like, hey, I got to write an offer. Like last night, I had to write up an offer, but like Britt, my wife, had been watching Little Man all day.
Yeah.
And so it was my turn. So I watched him, tried to put him down, couldn't put him down, rocked him, did all the stuff, did the magic. Sometimes I'll put him on the ground and do 100 push-ups with him. And he likes that. And then he's like about to fall asleep, and then you put him down. He's like,
no. Yeah, that's a trick. It's a trick.
And it's like, I got to rock him again.
Right there.
I ended up saying, hey, like this isn't a normal situation, but I really need to get this offer in before it's like 10 p.m. at night so we can let them know that we're serious. This is highest income producing activity. So I think setting boundaries with your spouse and something that we really focus on is like realignment, because life happens. We're both entrepreneurs. We understand, but you have to be that much more on top of your schedule.
Yeah.
And my perspective has changed because, yeah, I could just do that. I didn't have to worry about the kid. Now there's a lot more responsibility, but also exhaustion comes in, and that's totally a real thing. And he has his witching hour and fussy moments. A lot of times around 7 to 9, it's just,
oh yeah,
Lord help us. And so we tag team, but being on the same team and helping one another out, and then just like I said, creating those proactive schedules ahead of time and being able to be flexible. I think that's been like a huge perspective. It's also made me like you warned me about this, but it's given me, I have felt supernatural strength. And you said that you're like, when you have the kids, something about it. And because I will usually take like the morning shift. So 5:30, 6 o'clock. And so I've been waking up a lot earlier. And then it's like, well, I'm up. Might as well go ChatGPT a 47-page business plan on deep research mode on how to
I'm up.
build my YouTube channels. So that's what I've been doing, like just like learning and listening to podcasts and having like worship time with the kid. And so that's been really fun. But the perspective is just like, it makes me more efficient. And you have to be. And same with my wife, especially because, like I said, we hired a nanny part-time. So like we really want to make sure we're taking advantage of income producing activities, growing their businesses when she's there.
Yeah.
Because, we don't want to waste that money, obviously. And we also don't want to waste that time. Like I want to be fully present when I'm with him versus like I'm on my phone submitting an offer. Like, hey, let me hand it off so I can do that in 10 minutes and then come back and rock him back to sleep and sing to him. And they're so formative too, the first couple of months, first year, but really those first couple of weeks and months. And they really need, the caretaker, they really need their parents.
Yeah. I think whenever we go back to like that relationship piece with your wife, whenever you get married, you're supposed to become one, right? And you do, but you're also still very separate. And what I found, at least with Sammy and I, is with the kids, you grow so much closer with your spouse because, like, hey, man, we're in this together, and we need each other, and really, you have to become one. Totally. And there is, life's not fair. Parenthood definitely is not fair. Entrepreneurship is not a 9-to-5 job. Parenthood is not a 9-to-5 job. And so there really is no like, well, it's kind of your turn, right? And yes, it is my turn. And this kind of takes precedent right now. I'll make it up to you, I promise, right? And if you're two separate people, there can be some resentment there. There can be some kind of like, well, like we're keeping tallies and things like that. If you grow together as husband and wife, then there's no tallies. There's no, this is your, it is your turn, but like you see what I'm saying as far as it's, hey, we're on a team here and we're doing the best we can for this tiny little human that really depends on us right now, while also growing businesses. And so if you're able to grow together as like a cohesive unit, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, let's do this. And it's you're not going to get away from being exhausted. That's just,
the exhaustion's going to be there no matter what. And so it's like, hey, like something I try and focus on is like gratitude and like thanking my wife. Thank you so much for allowing me to work so that you could, because I had to this is for real estate dads. Like, we know, what are you doing in real estate driving? Because properties are the same online, virtual, fake estate. So I got a good drive to Columbia for an hour, and that's just one way. So I was like, hey, appreciate you being available. And then when you get home, then I'm exhausted too. So just like both of you leaning in, but I really try and thank her and build her up. And she does that to me as well. because it's easy to just like let the kid win or be exhausted. And something that my wife said really encouraged me, because sometimes we just get so frustrated. We love this kid, and he's not having what was it? He's not having a hard time. He's just going through a hard time.
Ah, nice. Yeah, that's very true.
And yeah, it's like, oh, that makes total sense. Like if I was sitting there and couldn't move my arms and legs or speak and just, was exhausted, and
I'd probably be going through a hard time too.
Yeah. And anyway, so it was like another encouragement. Something that we've done is focusing on making agreements versus like unsaid expectations.
Awesome.
And so that has also been some secret sauce for us as far as communication and clarity. Because if I just have like an unsaid expectation, like you're going to take him when I get home so I can eat and relax for a little bit. And then I'm assuming or have an expectation that, hey, I've been working all day, you're going to take him. So trying to communicate and quickly realign when we aren't in agreement, but really minimizing those expectations because, hey, this was the agreement that was made. And, obviously we got to be flexible, but that helps with like, okay, cool, I get to have a break for a little bit, because yeah, it really is nonstop and being all in. Like he does sleep a lot and that's great sometimes, but a lot of times he doesn't. And then, now, man, like he's like rolled over for the first time, he's almost 12 weeks and he's moving a lot. And so, someone's got to be there for him to move, or he's just going to sit over there and just all right, pick him up. All right, time to move him again.
Yeah, let's go. Do you have one of the little like the doorway like bouncy things yet? Have you seen?
My mother-in-law is flying into town today, and she has brought one with her. So
yeah, man, that was a game changer. Both of our kids, especially my daughter, she would like Tarzan swing from that sucker. It was
Spider-Man style,
wild to watch. Yeah, but that was a game changer. Really, buckle up once he can start moving. So like crawling.
That's what I hear as well. So
right now you can put them in the bumbo, or like once they get a little bit bigger, put them in the bumbo. You sit right here, and all right, you're going to be my little paperweight for a second, buddy, while I write up this offer. And then once he's like, no, I'm not. I'm out, and gone.
Dude, I'll tell you something that funny that happened. Speaking, like all of the realtors on here will know of this story, especially with dads. But like, my wife had to go to a dinner, and I thought it was at 7. And this is like, once again, expectation versus agreement. Calendar said 6:30, which means she had to leave at 6. Well, I had a buyer consultation that I had already rescheduled for 6 o'clock. And so at 6, she leaves, and I'm like, oh, the kid's here. And guess what? It's 6 o'clock, which means fussy hour.
Yeah.
So I'm on
timing for a buyer consult.
The guy understood, but I like literally, I'm like, he's like, wah! The kid's crying. I'm like, sorry, man. Hey, hold on 1 second. Put it on mute. Do your thing.
Yeah.
And then so it was that was my first buyer consultation with a live screaming baby that I was trying to. Eventually, he freaking fell asleep like on my desk in my hand. So then I could only use one hand to take notes. And
of course. And you're like, I'm not moving this other one.
We do what we got to do and never wake a sleeping baby. Everyone knows that.
No. I will end this Zoom call right now if I need to. I'll find another buyer. Yeah, that's great, man. Well, you've kind of gone into it a little bit, but what does a day in the life look like now? The premise of the podcast is balancing hustle and home. What's that look like today?
Yeah, for now, the days we have the nanny, we're really both of us efficient, and but the days that the nanny is not there, then like I'm watching him, but my wife and I have kind of made more of an agreement that like I need to be able to be fully focused, but I'll come hang out or have lunch with him, or if I end the day early, being entrepreneurs, we can do that. So I try and, my wife and I shared a car for the first 2.5 years of our marriage. And that really forced our schedule to be aligned and live by the calendar. So, excuse me. So, that was honestly like a pro tip, do that by accident or on purpose if you want to save money for us. But that has helped because we still have that rhythm.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, like I know that I have a meeting with this guy, or like I try and let her know my schedule ahead of time, so that way she knows when I'm available. But then I can, like today we were hanging out and I was down there writing up a listing agreement and a listing description and stuff, thanks to ChatGPT.
Thank God.
And yeah, right. And but we were all hanging out, and he was just down there, and I was playing with him, and then we're back to work. So
Cool.
yeah, it's pretty, like, as far as balancing those two, I really personally, I think, and as entrepreneurs, you do have to turn it off. And it's easy to stay up till 9 to write an offer.
Mm-hmm.
Does it really need to be like that? No, you can set boundaries, and there are obviously fiduciary rights and stipulations, but you can create boundaries and standards. And so, like, here's an example of balance for us. I always try and take one day a week to not work. And very rarely will I work. Sometimes I'll do like some admin and maybe some fun video editing for YouTube or something like that. But for the most part, like, so for me, that's Saturdays. And sometimes clients, they're like, they got to go see stuff, but I let them know on the listing or buyer consultations on the front end, hey, like, I'm a better agent when I'm able to take a day of rest. I will hustle even more for you. And most of the time they understand that. It's not just like a biblical Sabbath thing, but I think it's a very wise, practical human thing as well to be able to establish that. But it also allows me to have a really fully present family day. So like Saturdays, I'm like total dad, hanging out with the kid, hanging out with my wife, making memories, going to farmers markets in Franklin, or we always go hiking on Saturdays.
Nice.
If we're in town. And so we love doing that. And that helps give us routine and space to realign and dream and just hang out and be present. And then that makes me even more efficient on those days that I'm working. Like, I don't want to have to be working 6 other days, but right now we're at a spot where I need to work, and ideally can build up businesses that make money in my sleep to where I can take even more time to be more fully present. But we are in hustle and grind mode right now to build multiple streams of income with multiple businesses to provide for our future family, to be fully present, and also to be aligned with what God's leading us to do with ministry and giving opportunities. And so the hustle and home thing, that has been a huge one. Setting boundaries with my clients, letting them know I'm not available after 7. Like, I know some agents will literally change their voicemail every single day. I'm not going to do that, but I'll try and let them know. And then also making sure that Saturdays are honored. Sundays I like working because after church, sometimes I'll do showings, I'll go do stuff, and I'm already like getting the accounting and the admin and all of the stuff ready for the week, and like, sprinting into Monday. So that's kind of how I've handled some of it, and it's really helped us be fully present as a family.
Well, and right now I think it's you're in that hustle and grind mode, both with business, but then also you're in hustle and grind mode as a parent too. And totally. I remember Katie was already born, but Carter was a newborn whenever I was getting into real estate. And I was in hustle and grind mode. And it was hard missing some things, being in that 25-hour a day, 8-day a week work schedule at the time. But I miss him. He doesn't miss me. Like, he's at that time, he does not know that I'm not there. Like,
right.
He's, 6 months old. Right. And, it's that hustle and grind with a purpose of, like you said, I'm building the foundation, the platform, so that whenever he does need me, I can be there and I don't have to hustle and grind as much then, because I've already done the work on the front end. Totally. And so it's hard in the moment, but then once you get there, you're like, man, thank God I did that. Like, now I can be present on field trips or, the sports, or like whatever you guys decide to do, and travel, things like that. And so
Exactly.
it's so important to do that. I had interviewed, I think it was Christian Rasmussen that had said this, and I've been using it for a lot of the other episodes. He said a phrase, "More is caught than taught," and I love that phrase for parenthood, because you'll try to teach your son all these different things, try to teach your kids these things, and try as much as you can, and yet you'll be like, "Hey, what did you think of this?" And they're like, "What did you say?" And versus like you can say one bad word under your breath one time, and they're going to repeat that for the next 6 weeks. And so like they really pick up things much easier than they learn from you teaching. What is something that you want Theo to catch from what you're doing?
Man, so good. Probably just understanding, having wisdom, so that kind of like with my business, you don't have to just be reactive to what everyone else wants and what the world wants, and clients answering, demanding stuff. You are in control of your ship. You are the captain. Like, don't let others row your boat. That's a quote my dad would always say. And so in the similar vein, hey man, like you have what it takes, but also like take ownership in who you are and what you're trying to build. And I'm doing that by going for my dreams and showing him that it is possible to block out the noise, be resilient when you get knocked down, because you are going to have trials, and not let these outside circumstances affect you, but be rooted and grounded in God's word and in truth and in love, and like make gratitude a choice, make joy something that you seek and you live out every day despite the highs and lows of life. And knowing your identity and knowing who you are and what you're trying to build. I think those are things that really stood out to me. Something else, I always have like a tagline. I'll call myself Logan Rhea, the embracer of life, and not being afraid to embrace the highs and the lows. I came from a performance-based family, and they did the best they could with what they have, but unfortunately sometimes fell into society's norms, really, of you're only as much as what you produce. And you are more than that. You're not someone who's just only as good as what you can output, but is it possible that you have intrinsic value and worth, even if you never did anything ever again? And if that's the case, make that the starting point, and then you can fail and not be ruined because your identity wasn't grounded in it. Or you can succeed, whatever that looks like, and hit these metrics and not be rooted in pride. And I made this happen. But once again, like your value is not tied to the outcome. And so that would be something that I would want to continuously show him, as well as speaking to him, because a lot of times we are rooted in, it's easy to just get our worth and value from what we do.
Yeah.
And so those are like some really big principles. And I say embracer of life because there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but like, don't be afraid of the hard times. Embrace the times, and embrace where you are. Like, it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to be real. You're a human, real emotions, and like be real with the truth as well, but like process these things and continue, you're worth it to navigate versus, I shouldn't be feeling that because I need to be leading and I got to go produce and do other stuff. So, hey, actually, if you live out of your whole heart and you're living fully alive, that means that there's good and bad. There's tragic things that happen. There's hardship. There's heartbreak. And I don't want them to shut off, or anyone to shut off parts of their heart that are beautiful and need healing, need exposure. Now that I'm saying this out loud, it actually makes me think of that movie Inside Out.
Oh yeah.
Where, like, joy comes in and then sadness is like, yeah, but the joy came because of the sadness of the memory. And then it fuses together. And I think it's the same thing. I mean, really, this is the way of the world. And if you think about music too, there's awesome times where it's building and there's tension there, and there's music, and then like it leads to the chorus, and then it's like the quiet verse, and then it repeats the chorus again, and then goes back to the bridge, and like there's all these different things that are just incredible, creative, beautiful masterpieces that merge them together. And I think that's what it is with life and being fully alive, knowing that it's an adventure. Like, if you're going to climb a mountain, you're going to have some hardships, but you're also going to end up at the top. And even if you don't end up at the top, the journey was awesome too. Yeah. And so I want to be able to show him that through showing gratitude and adventure and joy, no matter the circumstance. Hey, like our plane just got delayed and we are really hungry and there's only one place to stay tonight. Cool. We're going to DoorDash something and make a memory out of this and have a pillow fight. And this is going to be epic versus like complaining and this sucks. And man, life is horrible right now. It's like, well, you're really being affected by your circumstances. Like, what would it look like to show them that life is happening for you, not to you, and like reacting in that way?
Well, and that's really, I mean, the epitome of what's caught versus taught, right? You can give them a TED talk on how you're supposed to, embrace life and everything, peaks, valleys, highs, lows, all of that stuff. But they're not going to pick it up as much as they are if they're just like, oh, well, this is just how we act because this is all I've ever seen. If anytime there's any minor inconvenience, you're huffing and puffing around the house and like, this is terrible. Oh my gosh, our flight is delayed 14 minutes. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Then surprise, he's probably going to have the same reaction anytime any little thing goes wrong. If nothing seems to really rattle you because, hey, we're just on this ride together. And if we get delayed, that's just more quality time that we get to spend together. We're going to have a pillow fight, all good. Then guess what? Whenever they have bad things happen, which is inevitable, then how are they going to react, right? And so I love that.
I think another thing real quick on there, my dad did this really well, but like humility to take ownership and apologize, because like your dads are your heroes, but they make mistakes. And so like I respect and love him so much, but even more when he shows his human side and he's not just this perfect hero. And it gives me courage to have humility and ask for forgiveness and take ownership and responsibility. Yeah. And I think, sometimes the generation before is a little bit more tough and rough, don't show emotion and just, stick it up and keep it going or whatever, pick yourself up. And we're fully humans with whole hearts that are fragile and have unique experiences. And so I think like encouraging him to do that by me showing, hey, I got pretty angry and frustrated, and that's not the way we want to do it. Will you forgive me?
Acknowledging it.
Acknowledging other stuff too when you make mistakes, because he's going to make mistakes. And he's like, well, my dad never says that. It's like, well, okay, you just caught him the wrong thing.
Yeah, you caught the wrong thing. There's one day I got in the car, and we all, real estate, there's peaks and valleys, especially in leadership. I remember texting my wife one time. I said that, leadership is going into one meeting and having somebody tell you how great you are, and then an hour later going into another meeting and somebody telling you how bad you suck, right? And not believing either one of them. And I had gotten in the car, just picked up my son. How was your day, buddy? He's like, good. I was like, what made it good? Because we always say there's either good days or great days. There's no bad days. Any day on earth is a good day or a great day. And he's like, I mean, great. And I was like, oh, good. And so he was, talking about what made his day great. And if it's not great and it was just good, then, okay, well, what could have made it better? How could we have maybe changed this? And if we couldn't change it, we got to let it go. And he's like, how was your day? I was like, man, buddy, today was just a good day. And he's like, oh man, like what happened? I was like, today was rough, and just kind of like talking about it. And he's not going to really understand fully, at the time he was 7, but in his 7-year-old brain, he's a smart kid, but just kind of going through, here's some challenges I had today, and that's okay. And kind of, like you said, that human side of hey, dad's a human too, and I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to have good days and great days. And whenever you're now getting older, and whether it's school or sports or, friendships or whatever the case may be, you're going to hopefully have a better understanding of that because you caught it, right? And so also seeing that, we don't say hey, don't be afraid of this, basically. We talk about bravery, and that, there's a difference between not being afraid of anything and being brave. And the difference is that if you're brave, even if you're scared to do something, you do it anyways. And I was talking with my daughter. She's had a mental block around she's real big into gymnastics, and so I had a mental block around the gymnastics thing. And we're just talking about being, afraid and being brave. And I was telling her about me being afraid of public speaking at one time, and like crippling phobia of public speaking, kind of going through that. And
I would have never believed it.
That's what everybody says. But man, I'm telling you, if you said, hey, I can let you talk in front of these 10 people, or I could punch you in the face, I'd be like, hit me, dude. And, but obviously, like, you have to, if you want to reach what you feel like you're capable of, you gotta build past that. And so I was able to do that. And I was actually speaking at our biggest convention, which is, you have thousands of agents there. It was in Las Vegas. I was on stage there and able to talk. And I was talking about her being brave and how proud I was, because I knew that she'd been going through a hard time. I said, hey, I'm really proud of you for doing this anyways. That shows a lot of bravery. And she was asking me if I had ever experienced that. And I was like, oh my gosh, all the time. Here's a specific time. And I say, whenever you feel like you're nervous to do something, your body doesn't know the difference between being nervous or the being excited. And so next time that you feel nervous doing something, I want you to tell yourself, you can either say it out loud or you can just say it in your head. I want you to tell yourself that you're excited. And she's like, okay. And she's like, are you nervous to go out and speak in front of all those people? And I said, I'm excited. And she just kind of laughed. She's like, ha, I see what you did there. And so again, it kind of goes back to like what's caught versus taught.
Yeah, I think that's great, man, because like you're stepping into humility and showing that vulnerability side. And it's kind of like the embracer of life side I was saying earlier, like, hey, this is a hardship. I will choose to embrace it though, and step into it. And then you doing it and having actions. And that's so cool. Plus, like, we have the perspective and ability of a lot of life experiences to look back, and we can definitely relate and have those moments. But a lot of times they're like experience that for the first time, or, the gymnastics thing. And this, like, okay, you will build this muscle of being excited versus nervous and confidence. Like Ed Milet always says, confidence is keeping the promises you make to yourself, and so like you can build that by continuously making those. And once again, I think doing that is a way to teach through action and through consistency, through your character and through your life. Something that my dad did that helped a lot too was when he would always pray in the morning and showing up at our games. And that was really awesome to me because it showed that he cared, that he loved me, and he wanted to see me succeed in what I was involved in. And something that I want to for sure make sure, which is another reason why, going back to business building, I want to be able to be there fully present versus, oh, sorry, got to go to open house and chasing the deal.
Yeah, sorry you got your game today, buddy, but I'm going to be sitting in this house and hoping people show up, right?
Yeah, not going to be me by the time, 10 years from now, I will not be doing that. 5 years from now. Love it.
Well, we're coming up on time, so I'm going to go through a little lightning round real quick, and then we'll close it out. So coffee, tea, like what's your, you need some fuel right now as a new dad. What's your energy source?
Electrolytes.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, I definitely drink coffee and stuff, but I find I can just put electrolytes and maybe some creatine, mix it in. Water's fine, and then run and gun. But to be real, what's actually motivated me is my kid, obviously, and then what we're talking about. I don't want to have to be working and running and gunning and chasing the next deal. And so I've changed kind of my business model to focus on being more of a expert video marketer and content creator, and so that I can build my brand as an authority figure and attract clients versus I'm a salesperson that chases clients.
Going to hunt.
And so that is sustainable. And I found through the avenue of YouTube, I have 3 different visions for channels that I'm going to create, but that's kind of like the midterm, long-term play. And so I launched like a channel, for instance, beginning of the year, and got 47 subscribers now, got 14 videos.
Nice.
And this is a program that I paid for under this book I read called Passive Prospecting. Anyway, it talked about, building yourself as a brand and authority figure, and just really like being kind of the mayor of your town through video. And you don't have to have a lot of subscribers. And so I got 1 lead that came from there, relocation, an $800,000 deal,
Nice.
and signed the contract to work with me. And we're looking at houses right now, and we'll probably in the next couple of months, unless that we find one. And that's from 6 months, 14 videos, and 47 subscribers.
That's awesome. I got a couple great ones down in Thompson Station if you want to look down that way.
Let's go, man. Come on now.
Best book you've read this year?
Best book I've read this year, Inner Excellence.
Inner Excellence.
Book.
Write it down. It's not a part of the book, the library yet.
Yeah, there's an audio version. I love doing that, especially realtors, because you're on the road.
I'm an audio guy. I don't listen to myself read if I'm reading out loud. As we discussed earlier, whenever I was even just reading a brief bio, I'm already thinking about something else. I've got to do the audio book.
Yeah. That one's a good book. And AJ Brown was actually reading this book. During the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And it was written really to help with your mindset and overcoming thoughts. And like, man, the book is just amazing. If you don't get anything from the book, and there's an intro, and I can put it in the show notes if people want. Basically like 10 principles of the inner excellence mindset, and they're all just money. And I read those 10 inner excellent mindset quotes or principles every single morning or every single night before I go to bed.
Nice. Last one. What are you looking forward to doing the most with your son?
Okay. Most I'm looking forward to, besides football, because I'm a huge football guy and going to games, playing, practicing, it's got to be adventure and travel, hiking. We love hiking. Like rock.
It'd be nice when he can walk himself. And
exactly. Right. Yeah.
Rucksack gets a little lighter.
Doing some, like, those are some of the best memories I have, just like all the awesome vacations we had, and just being able to be a kid again. And so, yeah, I can't wait really to like get in the outdoors with him, backpacking, paddleboarding, hiking, and experiencing God's beautiful nature out there, experiencing the world. And then once you're on a campfire in the middle of a mountain, awesome memories are going to be made, helping him form himself and ask the right questions, and just forging through boyhood to manhood. I can't wait for that.
Man, it's the best. I just took Carter on his first camping trip. We were not in the middle of the mountains. We were at Henry Horton State Park, so very different, but had the best time. You could just tell he was having the best time. Gave him his first pocket knife. Like, it was just like this, like true father-son moment. And he had, his normal bedtime is like, 8:00, right? And he was wired for sound, and it's like 10. And we're just sitting around the campfire. He's reading his Would You Rather campfire book. We're kind of talking about all these different scenarios and different things. I'm like, man, this guy is still going. And I looked down and realized we went shopping to get some supplies beforehand, and he asked if he could get like one of those little water flavor packets for his waters. I was like, you know what, whatever, big deal, grab it. And did not realize it was the caffeinated version
Yeah.
of those. So
Got
he had a
it.
little help staying up till about 11. So, but
That's
it's
awesome.
so much fun. So I know exactly what
I
you're
can't
talking
wait to do that, man. That's so cool.
It's the best. Well, any final words of encouragement for fellow real estate dads before we go?
Yeah, I mean, final words, I'd say just keep knowing your why, and you don't have to be reactive and let things happen. Like, you can be in charge and take ownership, being a multiple business owner and really running your business professionally in a way where you can be fully present with your kids versus sacrificing those things. That's not just some idea, but it definitely exists when you take ownership. And yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome.
Really be intentional behind that, because it makes a difference. And there's only a set time that we have with these guys. We can always do more deals, but you can't get your time back, which is the most important asset, really. And investing, not spending it, but investing it in yourself, your business, but more importantly, your kids.
Man, 18 summers, man. That's all we got. 18
Oh,
summers.
it's crazy to think about it that way.
I know, man. Well, I appreciate you. I know, obviously, we talked about it. You're stretched thin with time, and I appreciate you spending a little time with us.
Of
So
course.
until next time, keep balancing, hustling home.
Yes. So appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, man. And we'll see you next time. Appreciate you.
All right, Logan.
Peace.